Hello and Grüß Gott. On this video we're going to be changing the front brake lines. We're going to be putting on some stainless steel types. These are made by StopTech. And so this car had been up in Massachusetts for several years. Even though we kept it washed off underneath, it did get a little bit of corrosive issues underneath it. So I used some Aerocroil, which is an amazing oil by the way, and I used it to penetrate into where the hard brake line connects to the soft brake line, which is here. Now these brake lines are 20 years old. They're not swollen or anything because I actually replaced my brake fluid about every 2 or 3 years. But we wanted to replace them anyway, just since we just did the brakes, and you can see that on a different video. So let me tell you how to get these things loose. There's a 17 millimeter backing nut built into the back of the brake line. So you're going to have to end up taking this clip loose to rotate it enough to get the 17 millimeter wrench in there. And then if you're lucky, you can use a 10 millimeter flare nut wrench to get this loose. In our case, we weren't lucky, so I had to use one of these Nico or Nico USA deep crow's foot wrenches that went all the way over the nut, and we had to break it loose using one of these. So it was rather difficult, but we did get it loose, and now we're ready to let the fluid drain out and go ahead and replace the line. Now at this point, before I get started, I'm going to clean everything up really well because I don't want any contaminants in my brake fluids. I want everything to be very clean, no oil or anything, and then I will replace the lines. So we're going to get it all cleaned up, pull this line off, and then we'll come back and talk about it. Okay, what I've done right now is I let the hose drip after I took it off here. I've been letting it drip for a while, and I took the top of the reservoir off so that the brake fluid can all drip out, because the fact is we're going to have to completely purge out everything anyway. So I've gone ahead and attached the new line to the lower part here. And one thing I wanted to point out to you is that this line, you put a 17 millimeter wrench on it, but it also locks into place in the little bracket here that holds into place. So you have to rotate it into place before you can put this clip in. And what I did to put the clip in was I used a mallet and very gently tapped it down, followed by using a piece of brass and gently just tapping it all the way down so it's good. Then I took a 10 millimeter flare nut wrench and snugged this up real good, probably about 10 or 11 foot-pounds of torque, not a whole lot. If it ends up leaking, I'll be able to tighten it up. But the problem is, because this is not a really good nut anymore because of some corrosive activity, I don't want to end up doing any damage to it. So right now it's still good and snug. I'm going to do the top fitting, and then we'll come back and talk about what's next. So at this point, we've finished this side. What I did was wiggled this in till it came into till it was seated properly and in its keyed position. Installed the clip, again using a mallet and then a piece of brass rod to tap it in gently. Snugged this down to about 11 foot-pounds of torque. I had to guess because, again, due to the circumstances of corrosion, can't put a crow's foot wrench on there, whereupon I can put a small torque wrench on. And the way you do that, by the way, is you put the crow's foot wrench on at 90 degrees to the torque wrench, and then that allows you to get an accurate torque reading. So we're finished with this. Now what we have to do is we have to completely purge all the system out with brand new Pentosan brake fluid. You can see our brake fluid video on how to purge out your brake fluid if you're interested in that. And also, the other thing I just wanted to mention was you have to make sure everything is absolutely clean when you take all this apart. In other words, you don't want any oil or anything in your brake line because that'll cause a problem. So we cleaned everything with 97% IPA and wipes very, very carefully so that no oil or anything will penetrate into the system. Okay, so now we're finished with this, and that's all there is to this video. Thanks for watching. Tschüss.